Hi. So it's been a while since I've updated on my YouTube. As I've said in one of my posts before, that I'm not really a proper YouTuber, so obviously I haven't been keeping up with posts. Quite a bit has changed in my life over the last couple of years. I moved house and I changed my job, and there's been quite a lot of different things going on. So I'm in a different sort of place to where I was earlier. But in terms of the i3S, I still have it. In fact, today, the reason I chose to post today is because today is the 3rd anniversary of me picking the car up from Park Lane BMW, which is great. In terms of the car itself, it's now done to 22,900 miles. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot in 3 years, but I haven't been commuting. I work from home, so I don't really do any long journeys on a regular basis. I'm not like commuting 20 miles each day, each way, or more like I used to. When I first got my old i3, I was commuting every day, 25 miles each way. But then when COVID happened, things changed, and now I've changed my job anyway. And if I do ever need to go into the office, I go by public transport because it's in central London, so there's no way I'm driving there. So yeah, it's a bit different. However, I have done a fair bit of mileage on longer journeys, going down to Dorset. I've been to Leeds, I've been to Halifax, I've been to Matlock, I've been over to Wales, I've been down to Kent, Norfolk, and I have a holiday in Devon booked for May. I went to Devon in my first i3 back in 2020, and it was great. This one hasn't ventured quite that way. It's been to my dad's, which is in Weymouth, multiple times, and I actually even managed to do the whole journey in one go once, or twice actually, which is not bad. It's 163 miles, and that's with motorway and it being a sport model. I don't think that's too bad for a car with 38 kilowatt hour available battery and a driver who doesn't really care about driving that efficiently. So I tend to drive relatively normally. I mean, I do knock the top speed a little bit, but I don't compromise. I'm not driving at 56 miles an hour behind the lorries. No way I would do that. So I tend to drive between about 65 and 70. Usually, if I'm not that worried about the range, I'd be closer to 70 or at 70. If I am trying to eke out the range a little bit more, I will be going at about 65 or maybe a bit less if I really have to stretch it. So I'm not particularly one of these slow drivers. I will be overtaking things, and I will sometimes get annoyed with a middle lane hogger and have to have a bit of a blast to get past them to get out of the way of someone who's annoying me. But yeah, the i3's been completely flawless. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. It had its first MOT a couple of weeks ago, and apparently the technician said he'd never seen one in as good condition. Now, slight pinch of salt there is that it is probably one of the newest ones he'll ever see again, because it was one of the last ones. I think they stayed making them for a couple of months after mine was made. I think the last ones rolled off of production in about June or July. Mine was in March, and I think it was actually off of production in about January, late January. So there will be newer ones out there, but it depends on the mileage they do, I guess, and how well they're looked after. Mine did have PPF treatment on the front of it to avoid stone chips, because I know how bad they can be on the i3, especially if you do lots of motorway miles. And it did have ceramic coat. I do have a bit of a scrape on the PPF on the front wing because of it. I think probably it was done in London, because I park it quite close to where there are some Lime bikes quite often parked, and I reckon that someone just tried to get past and hit it with either with a kids with bikes or the people with the Lime bikes themselves. I mean, they tend to just park them in the middle of the pavement, and then people have trouble getting past them. But that's what my theory is on that. And I have asked for a quote to get the PPF replaced, but it's going to be a reasonable amount of money, I think. But I've test driven some other cars, and although I have enjoyed one or two of them, I haven't ever still there's nothing I'm not out to buy a new car anyway at the moment. I don't want to spend that sort of money. But the i3, I bought it out of its PCP in September last year, and I paid the balloon payment just to keep it, because I didn't want to start a new agreement for another car. Yes, the car's lost a fair bit of money, but it's also a car that is special. It is a special spec. It's spec'd right to the hilt with almost every option you can get on an i3. So it's got the LED auto headlights. It's got the active cruise control. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with it. And I think I don't really have any plans to change it. Unless my life changes again and I get another job where I'm expected to commute or drive long. If I'm commuting and it's within sort of 100 miles, I don't have a problem with that. If it's a long way away, I wouldn't take a job anyway that's that far away. And if I was expected to drive for the job, I would expect not maybe to have a company car, or at least I probably would change the car then. But I don't see any particular reason why I need to upgrade the car. The range for me has been fine. And in fact, now when I do look at a new car, I'm really going to not care what the range or the charging is like, because I've had a car with 150 to 100, around 150 average range and a charging speed of 50 kilowatts, and I know that's fine for me. So if I get a new car, pretty much any car that I get now, unless it's a really, really small city car with a tiny battery, is going to beat those figures. The only thing I will say is that the i3's charging, although it sounds slow at 50 kilowatts, it's kind of like the tortoise and hare. It's got very, very, very good charge curve. So you can plug it in at 15% and it will go at something like 42 kilowatts. And it will keep going all the way up to 92%. And it will be up at 50 kilowatts by the time it gets to maybe 50%. And then it will just stay there. And it will stay there all the way to 92%. So in terms of charging speed, it's extremely reliable generally. I mean, unless the battery is really cold or it's really hot and you're sitting in the car with the aircon on, in which case it does affect it a little bit. But generally on a normal day, you can pretty much, you know how long it's going to take to charge. And that is a really good thing. It doesn't have these big steps in it in the charging curve like most cars do now. And that's because it's basically 50 kilowatts and that's it. So it's very predictable, and that I quite like about it. And I know it's not going to take, even if I'm pretty empty and I want to go to 92%, it's going to take 45 minutes, which isn't a great big deal if I'm not in a real hurry. And I'm never that much in a real hurry. When I'm in a long journey, I'm generally just on a holiday and I don't really have a schedule. Obviously, it's different if you're bombing up and down the country and you've got to be at a meeting by 10 o'clock and your car's taking ages to recharge. It's a different thing. But I've never really normally got that kind of time constraint on my longer journeys. I'm just going for a holiday, for a weekend, for leisure. I'm not going for a meeting. If I'm going for something like a play, I would never normally drive that far for a play or something. But if I was, I'd probably get there the day before, stay overnight. So I'm not normally rushing to get somewhere by a certain time. i3 still puts a massive smile on my face. If I'm having a bit of fun in the back roads and around the twisties, and it's just so intuitive. And I think this is something that's occurred to me since driving other EVs, is that it's kind of because I'm so used to it, it probably helps being so used to it, but it's also so intuitive and so instantaneous in its response. The steering is very responsive, the accelerator is very responsive, the regen is very responsive, and I don't really have to think anymore. It's just muscle memory, and that's it. It just does what I'm thinking without me having to think, right, I need to press a paddle, I need to turn the regen up, I need to turn the regen down, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to turn off the lane assist, I need to, there's none of that in that car. So I'm, the only time it bongs is when I get in and I haven't put the seatbelt on and I'm trying to start it or something. So it's very simple to drive, it's very easy and very darty and very nippy and a lot of fun. And I really am still enjoying it. When I drive, I still feel special. I still feel like I'm driving something that's a concept car, even after 5 years of driving them, even after the i3's been out of production for nearly 3 years. Well, nearly 3 years, and it was basically designed in 2013. I mean, it's over 10 years ago, and yet it still feels pretty modern and special. And I don't know, I guess I'm a bit emotionally attached to engineering feats, and I think it is one of them. So yeah, so that's my opinion of the i3 still, and I still don't want to get rid of it. So take care.